Hey there. Welcome to the CMMC Compliance Guide Podcast. I'm Stacey.
And I'm Brooke.
From Justice IT Consulting, where we help businesses like yours navigate CMMC and NIST 800-171 compliance. We're hard guns getting companies fast-tracked to compliance, but today we're here to give you all the secrets for free. So if you want to tackle it yourself, you're equipped to do so. Let's dive into today's episode and keep your business on track. Today's topic gets right at the heart of the confusion. Do assessors judge you on CMMC or NIST 800-171? If you're wondering which one really matters when the assessment comes around, this episode is for you. All right, Brooke, a good place to start here is what is the actual relationship between CMMC 2.0 and NIST 800-171?
Well, NIST 800-171 is the foundation, is the list of controls that CMMC is built upon. So there's 110 controls, and if you look at the NIST 800-171A, there's 320 assessment objectives. So that's the NIST 800-171 are the controls basically, and CMMC is kind of an overlay on top of it and gives it further description and clarification. Some of the things that CMMC does is it clarifies a few things like MSPs are considered. Well, for the most part, MSPs are considered an SPA unless they handle CUI in their systems. So SPA, again, is a security protection asset because generally MSPs are going to help you with the security on your network at some level, hopefully. And CUI is controlled and classified information. That is the protected information that this is all about. So generally, a lot of MSPs are not going to be handling CUI directly on their systems. They may have access to it, which makes them have access to the CUI on the client systems, but their systems aren't necessarily going to be under CUI. But the CMMC kind of clarified all that. CMMC certifications and accreditations are managed and taken care of by the Cyber AB and the CAICO. CMMC also specifies levels 1 through 3. CMMC level 1, and that is self-assessment only. CMMC level 2, that can be self-assessment, or it can be, and for the most part, it's going to be level 2 certification. Certification by a C through PAO. A C through PAO is a CMMC third-party assessment organization. I had another note there. The other thing I was going to say, level 3, there are going to be some of those. Again, CMMC spells out those levels where NIST 800-171 does not. But the third CMMC level 3 is going to be a lot fewer organizations than level 2. And it's going to require your level 2 certification assessment, and then DIBCAC is going to come in on top of that and do the rest of your level 3 assessment. NIST 800-171, the POA&Ms are pretty wide open. There's not a lot of specificity about them. However, CMMC has put some restrictions and clarifications around your POA&M. So for CMMC, technically, before they define the latest versions of CMMC, when as far as NIST 800-171 goes, you have to put as many of the controls as you can in place, and then you create a POA&M, which is your plan of action and milestones, right? POA&M. So it's a list of stuff to do that to be compliant. So once you wrote all your policies and your SSP and put as many controls as you could in place, and then defined everything on the POA&M and put some sort of timeline there for it. It could be 50 years out, I guess. Probably wouldn't want to make it that, but and the NIST 800, you're compliant after that, right? But CMMC came in and said, we need to put some timeline on this and restrict what can go on that what can go in on that POA&M. So they basically, if you look at the scoring methodology, there's 1-pointers, 3-pointers, and 5-pointers. So none of the 5 or 3-pointers can go on a POA&M, and there's certain 1-pointers that cannot go on a POA&M. So then after that, if you are able to have a POA&M of things that can go on a POA&M, you have 180 days to clear it up. So 6 months you have to clear it up. That's all CMMC. That is not NIST 800-171. Another thing I have on here is that only with CMMC, only C3PAOs can do a level 2 certification. They're the only ones that can certify against CMMC. Anybody could come in and assess your organization against NIST 800-171, but that assessment doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot, especially to the Department of Defense. So but the level 2 certification by a C3PAO, that's golden, and that's what you need. Now, that's what most people need, I should say, not everybody. So short answer is, if you're preparing for CMMC, yes, you do have to cover all the controls and all the assessment objectives for NIST 800-171, but then you also have to keep in mind all the stuff that CMMC kind of layers on top.
So, Brooke, when assessors show up on assessment day, what are they actually looking for and looking at?
Well, they're looking to make sure that you have all of the 110 controls from the NIST 800-171 complete, and they'll also look at the 320 assessment objectives inside those 110 controls. Each of those controls can have 1 to 6 assessment objectives that go along with it. So that's what tells the assessor, look through here and look at these assessment objectives. If they're met, then that control is met, right? And it'll tell them exactly how to look for them, exactly what to do. So that's what they're assessing against. They'll also, so for the most part, take care of the NIST 800-171, but you also got to keep CMMC in mind. And so for things like security protection asset, that has security protection data in it, so SPA that has SPD. You'll want to make sure that if it's not FedRAMP, which it doesn't need to be FedRAMP necessarily. If it is, great. But if your SPA is not FedRAMP and it's a cloud solution, then you're going to want to make sure that you have a complete customer responsibility matrix, a CRM for that. The assessor is going to want to see that. NIST 800-171 says nothing about that. So, anyway, but that's what you'll need to make sure that you have. So, and of course, they'll also, they're not just going to trust what you say. Do you have MFA configured? Oh yeah, got to take care of. All right, well, show me where. Let's see. Here's your COI data flow diagram, and it says you have it on the server. So let me see your MFA for when you access the server. Great. It says you also have it in this cloud ERP. So show me that your cloud ERP, one is FedRAMP, but also show me that it has MFA on it. And so they'll want to see that and understand that. So those are kind of things that they'll be looking for.
So for the contractors listening and they're trying to get everything ready, should they start with NIST or CMMC?
Well, you should start with NIST. Absolutely. You should start with NIST 800-171. Revision 2, that's the other thing that CMMC says is that this is locked into, CMMC is locked into revision 2 of NIST 800-171. So pay attention to that one, not revision 3. Revision 3 is current. Revision 2 has been superseded by revision 3. So, and you'll see that when you go look at the website, it'll tell you that's been superseded. So, but you still look at revision 2. That'll be for the foreseeable future till they get this all rolled out and everything. Then they'll look at changing the rule to stay current. But I digress. You asked about starting to get ready. You should look at the NIST 800-171. You also really do need to keep in mind if you just pay attention to just the NIST controls and assessment objectives, you have a potential to get yourself in trouble by not thinking about all the stuff that CMMC layers on top of it. So you need to think about those as well. But really, you look at those controls and implement all the security controls. If there's something you need to change, a cloud provider or something like that, you just need to make sure you take it all into account. So if you're just implementing MFA like NIST 800-171 says, sure, go implement it everywhere you need to implement it. But if it's having a cloud provider come in and provide a SIM, for instance, a SIM is a security and information and event monitoring. So if you're looking at a cloud provider providing that for you, then that's which NIST 800-171 and CMMC don't necessarily call for, but if you look at the assessment objectives and the controls around that, it really does kind of call for a SIM. It's really if you're not putting a SIM in place these days anyway, you're negligent really, because there are way too many logs to even think about trying to look through. So. But aside from chasing that rabbit, if you're looking at putting something else in place, like a cloud SIM or something, then you really want to take the whole picture. Not just NIST 800-171, but CMMC as well.
So for those listening, what's the real difference between a NIST self-assessment and a CMMC certification? Hey everyone, Stacey here, jumping in for a quick moment. Because before you head into the new year, there's one thing you cannot afford to leave unresolved: your SPRS score. If you're unsure how close you are to an SPRS 110 or what gaps might put your 2025 contracts at risk, we're offering something that will give you instant clarity. For the month of December, you can claim a free 90-minute SPRS roadmap session with our certified compliance team. Here's what you'll walk away with: a clear picture of your current SPRS position, the exact gaps that need attention, and a high-level roadmap showing the path to an SPRS 110. This is normally a $1,500 consulting value, but we're offering it completely free through December. No sales pitch, no pressure. Just straight guidance from an RP, RPO, and CCP. Spots are limited, and they'll fill quickly this time of year. If you want to start January with clarity and confidence, head to CMMC-compliance-guide.com/free-SPRS-roadmap. Again, that's CMMC-compliance-guide.com/free-SPRS-roadmap. All right, let's get back into the episode.
Well, NIST self-assessment, you have to use the NIST 800-171A and assess yourself using the scoring methodology that the DoD put out. And you have to go through and score yourself, and you start at 110. And for the 1-pointers, 3-pointers, and 5-pointers, I know I'm using my fingers to say 1, 3, and 5, but I guess that's 1, 3, and 5. But in any case, you start at 110. If you don't meet a control, it's a 5-pointer. You deduct 5 points. So that 110 just became 105. You can end up, if you don't meet any of the controls, you can end up, I believe, at a minus 203 or something like that. You can end up at a huge negative score. You can even end up at a pretty good negative score and have a few things in place. So don't let it alarm you too much. You just know you have a lot of work to do. But that's what a NIST assessment is. You do a self-assessment on your environment. And I would encourage you along the way to do that anyway. And in fact, depending on if you're already in the SPRS system, you've already had to do that. But the CMMC certification really is a CMMC level 2 certification, and it's a assessment by a C3PAO is what that is. An outside organization comes in and assesses you, and they assess you against the NIST 800-171 and with all the CMMC stuff layered on top of it. So they'll assess you against all that, and then they will score each of the controls as met or not met. Hopefully they're all met, and when you're done, then you can they'll issue your level 2 certification, and you'll have a nice, pretty new certification that you can say, "Hey, Mr. Government, I'm ready for my contracts." So the other way it might go is C3PAO might come in and say, "Good, you got all your 5-pointers, you got all your 3-pointers, they're all met. Most of your 1-pointers are met." And you have, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever 1-pointers that need to go on a POA&M, and you need to address those. And luckily, these are ones that you can put on your POA&M. And so, Mr. Organization seeking certification, you now have 180 days to get your POA&M cleared, to get everything on that POA&M complete. Call us back out to verify that it's complete. If you do that, then after 180 or sometime between 1 and 180 days, I guess, if they leave, I'm almost guarantee you can't get them back in a day. But point is, between 1 day and 180 days, you call them back out to come finish that up. And at that point, as long as they agree that you've met everything now, you get your level 2 certification.
Moving on to some common misconceptions, can you delve into the biggest misconceptions that maybe our listeners may have about NIST versus like CMMC?
Sure. CMMC doesn't necessarily replace NIST; it just builds on top of it. So it uses those controls. It's going to continue to use those controls. Like I said, right now we're locked into revision 2, and eventually, a few years down the road, 4 years down the road, maybe, who knows? They'll look at releasing another rule that says now we're going to keep up. Most likely, the next time you have an assessment, it'll have to be at the current revision of NIST 800-171. There are changes, some significant changes. There's the same basic number of controls for revision 3, but there are some changes in it that will require you to possibly put some other things in place if you don't already have them in place. If you're kind of alluded to this a minute ago, but, if you're NIST compliant, NIST 800-171 compliant, that does not mean you are CMMC certification ready. It doesn't guarantee CMMC certification. As I said, there are things that CMMC layers on top of NIST 800-171. I think I've said that 100 times already, but that's what that's what some people have asked us and talked about. Another thing is that CMMC is one and done. Hey, I just want to put these things. I want to hire you to come and put these things in place for us, and we'll be good. You don't necessarily have to keep us around. That's true, but CMMC or even NIST 800-171 is not a one and done thing. It's built for ongoing management and monitoring, and proof that you have ongoing management and monitoring. So that's what it's all about, is ongoing management and monitoring of the security of that system and of the CUI that you protect. And the other one is, only the main contractors need CMMC. It'll be too hard for me to check and see which of my subs have CMMC and which ones don't, and they're not going to get it because they're not big enough. Well, guess what? CMMC has always had a flow down rule. There is flow down, and not only does the contractor have to have it, but their subcontractors have to have it. And if their subcontractors have subcontractors, they have to have it. And if those subs have subs, they have to have it. So it flows down as far as that CUI goes. Now, if that CUI does not actually go out to that subcontractor, that information doesn't go out to that contractor that's CUI, then no, they don't have to be CMMC level 2 or whatever level you're at. They don't have to be CMMC compliant, right? But if any part of that CUI actually does go to those subs, they absolutely have to be compliant, and you have to do your due diligence and make sure that you've asked and they've crossed their heart, hope to die, showed you their score, showed you their certification or something that, that they're compliant. So if you've done your due diligence, but they're really not, hopefully you have done some sort of due diligence that takes care to make sure, but there's only so much you can do. If somebody's lying, they're lying, right? But it is incumbent upon you to make sure that your subs are the same level as you.
Are there any repercussions that contractors can fall under if they fall under maybe a misconception where they fail to meet requirements for NIST 800-171 or CMMC?
Absolutely. We're talking about the False Claims Act. So if you've got everything covered and it's all documented and you did everything like you said you were, and something still happens, then you're probably okay. There may be other things that you need to implement. There may be whatever. There's always, 0-day vulnerabilities, exploits, right? And you can guard against them to some degree as well. You at least need to be aware of them when they happen so you can address them when they come up, so you can address them before it happens to you. But aside from that, what a False Claims Act is what it sounds like, a false claim. Say, yes, I've met all these controls and I've got them all in place, yet you didn't tell the assessor that you had this other system that had CUI in it that is not under the same controls, right? And so if there's a whistleblower or if there's an incident and it comes to light that system is not really under control and you just kind of left it out because you didn't want to deal with it or whatever the case may be, you just didn't secure that system and you knew it was there and kept using it, that's a false claim. So there's several of them you can look up. And what I can tell you off the top of my head is that the huge majority of them are whistleblower claims. So, they said, look, this company says they're meeting CMMC standards and that they're all compliant, and they're not, So if you're just blatantly not taking care of your stuff, then yes, you're a False Claims Act waiting to happen. So, but one that was more recent is Morse Corp failed to maintain an updated SSP under NIST 800-171 and ended up paying $4.6 million under the False Claims Act. So DoD audits show the most common failures include missing or weak MFA, failing to update system inventories, poor incident response testing, and outdated SSPs. So again, this goes back to if you're just not doing something you say you're doing, that's waiting for a False Claims Act to come up. So and part of this, if you paid attention, that's outdated SSPs, failed to update system inventories. Guess what? That's ongoing monitoring and maintenance. So if you fail to update your SSP when things change a little bit, or you don't update your system inventories on some sort of regular basis, you should have it spelled out how often you keep your inventories updated and how often you update different things in your SSP. If you fail to do that, that's the ongoing monitoring part I was telling you about, and that is a False Claims Act because you said, yes, we do this and we keep it up to date. So be careful of that. Be careful of false claims. Even if you put everything in place at the beginning, like I said, it's not a once and done. It is not one time and it's over. It is ongoing. Yes, it is a headache. Yes, there is a whole lot more management to it. You can't just set it and forget it. The old days, even in just forget about CMMC, but in the regular world, the old days of hiring some IT guy to come in and put in, Microsoft Office and an antivirus, or whatever, or an ERP system, and then just walk away and you're done. Those days are long, long gone. All those systems need to be updated. Everything from the ERP systems to Windows, Mac, Linux, Microsoft Office, everything requires security updates. I can tell you that because there's vulnerabilities being found all the time. And so those, you've got to build, and that's another thing, the systems have to be in support and be able to get those security patches. So if you're using Windows XP, good luck. It needs to be off the network. So, but yeah, you need to think about those things. It's not a one and done thing. It hadn't been in just normal IT circles for a long time, but especially here with CMMC, with all this documentation and management, it is not a one and done. It's an ongoing management thing.
So for any contractors listening right now, what should they be doing right after this episode that can help them cover both NIST 800-171 and CMMC?
Get busy. So really, you need to figure out what CUI. First of all, figure out what CUI you have. How do you know you have that CUI? Does somebody just tell you and you guess it's there somewhere? Hopefully you're starting to see it come through documented and marked. Don't laugh. Don't fall out of your seat. I know that's funny. But the CUI is starting to come through as being marked as CUI more and more. So that's good. It's always a good thing. There is a tendency of some to overmark things, but then there's also a tendency to not mark because they don't want to overdo it, because that's, believe it or not, that's a headache on them also. But make sure you know what kind of CUI you have, because that'll matter when you scope your systems. Speaking of scoping, the next thing is scope all your systems out. Figure out where that CUI is processed, where it's stored, and where it's transmitted, right? Not just where do you store it, but where it's processed and transmitted as well. Because anything that processes, stores, or transmits CUI, it's in scope. So even if you download it from a Primes portal and put it right into your enclave, guess what? It just touched that computer you downloaded it on, transmitted it to and from, and processed it on. That it just touched that computer, and that computer's in scope. So you got to think about those things, but make sure you scope all your systems and scope them properly. So know your CUI, scope your systems, then run a gaps analysis. Just do a regular gaps analysis. Figure out where your gaps are. That could be just a manual look at things and write them down. That could include running a scan of your network. It can't just be a scan of your network. That doesn't tell you everything, but running a scan of your network, I would take the NIST 800-171, all the assessment objectives, and I would go through all those and make notes by each one of them and see where you're at, and see what needs to be done. From there, you can develop your SSP. You can develop your scope, and if you need to change your scope after you assess, figure out what your scope wants to be, what you want your scope to be. Then you develop your SSP, develop your POA&M, so all stuff that's not done that needs to be done. Implement the high-value controls first. After that, I would say implement the easiest things, get all the low-hanging fruit. Get all that stuff as quickly and easily as you can, so you can get that in without much chatter from upper management or executives about how much it costs, right? So get all those easy wins, and then make sure along the way, make sure you're collecting evidence for all those assessment objectives. And I would collect the evidence based on assessment objectives. It may be the same evidence for some of those, but make sure you gather it and tag it for those assessment objectives. So do a mock. Once you get everything in place, once you get your POA&M done, I would highly suggest doing a mock assessment. If not a mock, you can do a mock assessment, which is just like a normal assessment. They go through the whole thing, doesn't cost as much, which when you're talking about cost, it's all relative, right? It's just money. So we're a full C3PAO level 2 certification assessment may cost, we'll just say $60,000. A mock assessment is typically somewhere around $30,000, or it may be a little less than that. Depends on how the C3PAO does things. So they all do things just a little bit different, but that's the kind of the basis of how it works. It may be a little bit different, and I'm not saying which is better or not. And I'm definitely not saying go pick the lowest bidder on that either. So do a mock assessment with a C3PAO. The other thing that I have here that I should have put before doing a mock assessment is engage a C3PAO early and interview several C3PAOs. We have ones that we like. We have ones that, I'll just say we have ones that we like. Because we know that they are not trying to stick it to people. They're trying to make sure they understand what you have and that you have these controls actually implemented. So not just a very narrow view of how that might be implemented, but they're trying to understand. So engage that C3PAO early. They're getting backed up on their schedules. I haven't talked to one so this is early in December here. So I haven't talked to one before Thanksgiving. But at that time they were, 3 months out to even more than that. There are some that are booked out through most of next year. But you can find good ones still that are maybe 3 months out. So, but engage that C3PAO, interview several, decide on one, engage that C3PAO, and then do a mock assessment. And then from there, you can move on and do your actual assessment.
If you have questions about what we covered, reach out to us. We're here to fast track your compliance journey. Text, email, or call in your questions and we'll answer them for free here on the podcast. You can find our contact info at CMMCComplianceGuide.com. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, stay compliant, stay secure, and make sure to subscribe.